Hey guys, welcome back. It's good to see you again. Hey, I want to let you know something that has been going on that I've been releasing on YouTube. You've probably seen the videos. It's called the Daily Workout, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about it and explain to you what it is and how to use it. What it basically is just what the name says. It's like a daily exercise program, like a workout program for guitar. It's about 20 to 30 minutes per day, somewhere around there. It goes faster as the thing goes along, as you learn the exercises more. But it'll take you through all of your basic scales and arpeggios, the notes, the octaves, the cage system, things like that, and all your technique studies that you need to really become a good guitar player. So it's going to sort of show you your whole neck and give you the building blocks for the foundation of being a good musician. It's also like an exercise program. It'll help you to work out your hands, for your hands to get strong and for you to get muscle memory on the different scales and arpeggios and such. And it'll really hopefully help you to become a more confident and competent musician. I mean, that's what we all want ultimately. I don't know about you, but I know a lot of musicians and guitar players especially can feel stuck. They feel like they get into a rut and they feel like, they play the same ideas over and over and over again. They're pretty good guitar players. They have some technique and they know some things. They've picked it up or learned it over the years. So they can play songs and they know these songs. But there's a lot of mystery to the neck. They don't know where all the components are on the neck, where all their notes are, all the scales that are attached to the chords and such. And what happens is they just sort of like, if they're not playing something that somebody else showed them, they get stuck in these same things over and over again. Same boxes, same scales, same sort of patterns that they do. And there's a lot of mystery to the instrument too. You know about the cage system, but you don't know exactly how to put it all together. You've heard of it, and you might know some parts of it. You probably know some pentatonics, of course. Most guitar players do, but you don't know them all across the guitar neck, and you don't know how to attach them to chords. Or maybe you don't know all your major scales, your three on a string stuff, or some of the more complex scales also. So that just makes you feel sort of insecure. If somebody says, do you know all of your scales and arpeggios? You have to be honest and say, I don't know all of that stuff. So this is basically an exercise program that's designed to really help you to get in good shape, to physically get in good shape with your muscle memory, but also to know and understand the guitar neck so that you really feel secure and confident on it. Now, let me say something before I go on. I am not saying in any way that this is the end-all program or something like that. First of all, there's a lot of great stuff on YouTube. There's a lot of great teachers out there that have taught for a lot of years that do a wonderful job and put together these same types of exercise programs, but none of them will make you a great musician. You need to hear that. None of them are going to make you a great musician. They're incomplete in and of themselves, because you need to learn from great guitarists. You need to learn lines and songs and styles and music theory. So all by itself, it's kind of incomplete. But what it does is it gives you all the building blocks for the essentials to become a really good musician. And that's exactly why every instrument, except for guitar, it seems like, they have, their technique studies where it's not just physical technique, but they're training you how to understand music and understand the instrument itself. So, if you're on piano, you'll have the Hanon studies, or, maybe the closest studies on saxophone or whatever it is. But every instrument does these, and for good reason. They really help you to become a complete musician who really understands their instrument. So, the daily workout is going to help you to do two things. First of all, it's going to help you to really understand the instrument, know your cage system, know your scales, arpeggios, all of them, how they get put together. And it's going to give you the muscle memory and physical skills that you need so that when you go to actually play those things on the neck, you can do those things without having to think about it. It's like Miles Davis used to say. He said, you learn it and you unlearn it. So you get it so good that it just sort of happens naturally. Let me give you a couple quick examples, analogies that might help you understand this a bit better. There's two ways to look at what this daily workout does, and there's two ways to look at learning an instrument. One is when you learn an instrument, you're essentially learning a language. So it's a stylistic language. It's a melodic language, but it's very similar to language in a bunch of different ways, and there's a lot of different ways to learn languages. But, you can just take what do they say, the immersion method, for instance. You just stick somebody in a country and hope they swim. Babies learn that way, so it's the immersion. You don't teach a baby grammar. They just hear the words and they slowly but surely learn and they pick them up. That's a great way of doing it. My wife did that. She came from a foreign language. She had about 10 days worth of language training, and she came here to the United States, barely speaking any English, and got by and learned it and did just great. And most of the greats, when you look at them, that is how they learn, to be frank. So not doing all these exercises and stuff like that. So Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck and those people, they listened to Leighton Hopkins, and they listened to Muddy Waters, and they listened to B.B. King. And then, a generation later, Eric Johnson and Joe Bonamassa and Eddie Van Halen, they learned all of the, Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix riffs that they could, and sort of put them into their styles, amalgamated them into their styles. But, for people in language, it's the same way. You can pick up a language just by hearing it. You could take you and just put you in France and hope you picked up the language. But for most people, they need something a little bit more formalized. If you were going to go to a foreign country that you didn't speak the language, you probably would go and take some classes. And this is what you would learn in the classes. First of all, you'd learn some vocabulary. You'd be taught words. You need to know what the word for camera or bathroom or water or salt or bus is to slowly learn the language. And that's sort of synonymous, if you would, to learning your scales and your notes and your arpeggios on the guitar neck. Those are the base building blocks. They're like your words. So vocabulary and the notes are sort of the same thing. Grammar is how to put a sentence together. So how to construct a sentence that makes grammatical sense. I remember when I was in college, I just got out of college, I took a year of German, and I had learned maybe 300 words, something like that. And I learned some grammar, and I learned how to put together sentences. And I met these sort of cute German girls, and I really wanted to talk to them. And we started talking, and within just a few sentences, I realized I knew a lot of words. So I could kind of understand what they were saying, but I couldn't speak any sort of abstract language. Yeah, I would have to say Helga and Gertrude went to the record store or something stupid like that I had learned by rote. And many of you as guitar players, you feel the same way. You can play a Zeppelin song, or you can play some other song that you've picked up and learned, and you can do it and execute it, but you can't really come up with those ideas on your own. Well, it's because you don't really know the grammar of the guitar neck. And that comes from putting together the scales and arpeggios and notes, which this daily workout will help you with, but then incorporating them into sentences. Those are lines and melodic concepts. Super important to learn those things, to be able to put those together, to be able to start making music. And then as you get better with those things, the next step is composition. So as you learn to put sentences together, you learn composition in English composition or whatever it is. And that's putting sentences together to be able to tell the story, to be able to communicate effectively. On an instrument, that's ultimately what we want to do. We want to tell a story, and we want to communicate to other people. We want to take our emotions and our melodic ideas that we have and be able to get those things out. And if you don't have those foundational building blocks of understanding, some of the music theory, but also, your scales, arpeggios, all of that sort of stuff, and being able to physically apply them, you can't get that stuff out. And when you do composition, you want to learn songs and styles and some music theory, but it's how you say things. So, like a language, some of you can get this from just immersion. If you can do that, I would encourage you. That's a great way to do it. That's how most of the greats did it. But for most mere mortals who are not the Eric Claptons and people like that, you need a more systematic approach. So you can learn stuff on YouTube, but if you really want to understand the core building blocks, you have to go through sort of something that takes you from step A to B to C to D and so on, until you get to the point where you feel like, I really do understand how this guitar neck is put together. Because, most of the players out there that can play pretty well, they're still struggling to really understand their instrument. And that's really what the daily workout's going to do. It's going to help you to put together all of those dots, connect the instrument, and hopefully be able to really speak on the instrument. The second thing that it'll do, and this will be really quick, is it will help you put together physical skills. Obviously, we're playing a physical instrument. You need certain physical skills and muscle memory to be able to do things. It's vital to be able to play what you hear. You want to be able to get what's inside and get it outside. That's the whole key to this thing. But I'll tell you this, the technique is not the end game. And we've all heard players that are amazing technicians, but maybe not that great musically, if you know what I mean. And we've heard guys who don't know a lot technically, but they play pretty well musically. But let me give you a sports analogy, and this might help to clarify the physical part of this. So if the mental part is like a language where you have to put together your vocabulary, your grammar, and your composition. The physical part, it's almost like sports. So let's take it like this. If you want to be a great boxer, you got to have great cardio. If you want to be a great football player, you've got to lift weights. If you want to be a great gymnast, you've got to be very flexible. But on the other hand, just because you're in really top-notch cardio shape does not mean that you're going to be a great boxer. Just because you're a really strong guy who lifts weights doesn't mean you're going to be a great football player. Just because you can touch your toes is not going to make you a great gymnast. But I can tell you this. If you want to hold the title belt, you need to have great cardio. If you want to lift up the Lombardi Trophy, you're going to have to have gone through a lot of weight training. If somebody's going to put a gold medal around your neck, you've gone through flexibility training. You can't have those things without those physical skills. And that's how it is with a musician. Knowing all of these exercises that you're going to learn in the daily workout, it's not going to make you a great musician. But you can't be a great musician without knowing some of these building blocks. Now, some of the guys, if you talk to, a great like Joe Pass, for instance, or you talk to, Jimi Hendrix, they might not have been able to articulate what they knew, but intuitively they knew those things from learning them from the master. So they might not have been able to communicate it in a way that would encompass music theory and all the language with that, but they could play it and they could understand it more intuitively. Again, immersion method versus the systematic method. So what these exercises are designed to really do is they're designed to take you from an intermediate student to an advanced student, first of all. So if you're a pretty good player who feels like you have a pretty good grip on the guitar and can play pretty well, these will take you to the next level. But also they'll eliminate your sort of flat spots or your blind spots, the areas you don't understand or don't know, or the areas you're not all that good at, because you're going to practice all the basic essentials. And again, this is not something new. I'm not making up something brand new here. I've taken lots of exercises from, what other people would say. If, Eric Johnson said, learn how to connect all of the pentatonics together. I made exercises for it. When I heard Al Di Meola say, you've got to know all of your major scales. That's your basic building blocks. I put those in as exercises in this. When I heard Joe Pass say, you've got to know all your little tiny small chord shapes, I made exercises to be able to put these together in a logical way. And what they do is there's 8 systems altogether, and for the most part, they build one system onto the next, onto the next, onto the next. So if you're doing this, start off from the first one. It's a simple one. You'll know a lot of the stuff in it, but start there and build your way through these things, and it really will have an incredible effect on your playing. I just guarantee you that it will. It'll really give you competence and confidence if you do them right and you practice them the right way. So here's my challenge to you guys. Just take one of them. I know it's hard to find a half an hour a day. I totally get that. I understand having tried exercise programs at different times in my life. I know that. But if you want to become a better guitar player, I'm going to tell you something right now. It only comes from hard work. That's the only way that this happens. You can't become a better guitar player and spend a half an hour a week or something like that and become a really good guitar player, no matter what some of these programs on YouTube will tell you. It's just not true. You've got to spend the time. And this is going to be time really well spent. You'll never lose this stuff that you put and apply on the guitar. It really will make you a better guitar player. So half an hour a day, 5 days a week for 12 weeks. That's my challenge to you. Just System 1. Now in System 1, you're going to do mostly stuff that you've learned before. As a matter of fact, you might know all of these. I'm not sure. But even if you're a good player and you know all of the stuff that I'm teaching in System 1, I guarantee it will up your game a little bit because you'll get faster and better. You can push yourself as fast as you want. So my challenge is to go through one of these systems and tell me if you don't come out on the other side a better player. I guarantee that you will. I guarantee that something good is going to happen to you through this 12 weeks of dedication. And then if it really did work for you, like I think it will, then go on to the next one and try the next one. So that's my challenge to you. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'd love to hear, how this is working for you. Any questions that you might have, any comments that you might have. So please comment away and let me know what you're thinking on these. But I really do hope you'll take that challenge and you'll do 5 days a week, 20 to 30 minutes a day for 12 weeks and see if you don't come out a better player because of it. So it was good talking to you guys, and God bless. Signing off.